Have you ever felt like standing for your faith at work meant standing alone? We're going to talk about how you can be bold in the workplace without being bitter. Let's do it. Hey, what's going on? Welcome back to another episode of the Not Safe for Sunday podcast. I'm Josh, and here we are again, back in the building. The booth is packed again, back-to-back episodes. Feels good.
That's it.
Feels good to have a full house. I love it when the family's all together.
100%. 100%.
The family. I like that. Jake, what's going on, my guy?
Not too much.
Yeah?
Yep. Just blessed to be in a workplace that has a roof over the head and fresh water.
Amen. Me too.
I say that every day, by the way, to my colleagues. They love it. When things are going bad, I just bring that fact up, and it just changes their mentality right away.
Just put a pin on that till the conversation starts, Jake, because I know where you're going, man. I love it. I love where you're going.
Yep, me too.
Spencer, what's up, dude? You got a roof over your head and a full belly of water? Whatever Jake said.
Full belly.
No, the water could be better, honestly. But we got water. We got running water.
That's good.
You got that Rhode Island water, right?
Right.
The RI tap. Oh man, Johnny, what's up, Johnny Digital?
Nothing much. Glad to have a floor under my feet.
Walls behind you.
And working electricity.
Here we go. It's like a Thanksgiving episode. We're just gonna say what we're thankful for. We're gonna go around the room. Ken, what are you thankful for,
I'm
buddy?
really glad to have this Captain America Halloween candy tote,
Tote.
Never heard it described as
Oh, that might be a first. That might
Candy
be
tote.
the candy tote. My Halloween candy tote.
That's it.
Wow.
It's like you're an alien dude that saw Halloween for the first time, and you were like, I got my Halloween candy tote.
Back in my day, we used pillowcases, so we
Yeah.
didn't have these fancy
totes. Candy totes.
we didn't have those fancy totes that the kids have today.
Oh my goodness, dude.
Guy.
Daniel, what are you thankful for?
Grateful for fresh air and a nice couch.
There you go.
Oh man, I'm glad we went around the room.
It's beautiful.
This is like a AI generated intro.
How about you,
Nothing is
Josh? What are
real.
you grateful for?
I'm grateful for this podcast and this time I get to spend with you guys. So yeah, the lighting,
Grateful for the lighting.
Yeah, we were talking a little bit about AI, and you had something that you wanted to say. I really wanted to hear it.
Well, yeah, I don't know if it has to do with AI, but we were talking just pre-recording. We're talking about just how crazy AI is, especially with the whole Israel-Iran conflict and the missiles flying back and forth.
Dude.
But out of that conversation made me think of a question, and I think Spence also was his interest was piqued because he had heard this too, and I don't know if anybody else did, but I've been hearing lately, just been seeing it in comments of just certain threads that. Like, people who don't like Donald Trump are calling him Taco. It's a new nickname of his.
Yeah, I never
and
heard
I
that.
did not understand why. I brought it out to you guys. Spence, you heard it, but didn't understand why either, correct?
No, but I heard what that means though.
Oh, okay. Can you bring it then? Because I have no idea.
Wait, should we go around the room and take our guesses on the acronym? It's an acronym?
I don't even know if it's an acronym. I think
Is it
I've
an acronym?
I've seen it all capital letters, so
I
I'm
would
assuming.
think it's an acronym.
Taco.
Okay.
Taco. Let's get some creative guesses going. I want to hear Jake.
Oh my goodness.
Jake, let me hear your
That'd be
creative.
crazy.
Let me hear your creative guess on what
Let's
taco
keep it
means.
G-rated. Please.
Take apart coconuts.
Once.
What about the O?
Take apart coconuts once.
Once.
CO is in coconut.
His CO is coconut.
All
It
right.
doesn't get much
Wait,
better
who's
than
next?
that.
Mine won't be as funny as Jake's because mine was just more like practical. I was thinking but isn't he like? I know he likes eating tacos, or maybe like every Cinco de Mayo, like he always has like a pic of him like eating Mexican food or something like that.
Who
but
doesn't?
No, I know, but like that's the only thing I can think of because like I don't know the acronym. I don't know what people So anyway,
I got Trump against colored owls.
Wow.
He's not a colored owl fan.
Wow, racially motivated.
wild take.
Wow.
Colored sounds crazy.
Wild take.
It's like colorful. Like
No, I went the other way.
Spence, you'd appreciate
the
this.
go back
That's
and
a
take
harken
old
back.
episodes to get that one.
Yeah, you got to go back. I'm not racist, I swear. You
what
got to go
epi-
back a couple episodes.
What episode was that?
God,
That was early.
Yeah, that was
very
early.
early.
That was
That
a
was very
while
It must have
back.
been September, October.
Yeah, I think it was right before the election episode.
Just go back and watch it all. I don't know.
Yeah, That's
Daniel,
my take.
you gotta guess.
you got to
on
be
that?
bold.
I'm stuck around the asinine conspiracy occupation.
Okay. All right.
Johnny.
Good answer.
I
on.
only have the tyranny part. That's like that's the only thing I can think of.
Tyrannical.
All right, Spence,
I don't know.
hit
Spence,
us.
what do you
You
got?
know what it is?
Yeah.
Okay.
So
Okay.
what it actually stands for is Trump always chickens out.
Okay.
Oh.
Okay.
Ah.
So what's the reasoning behind it?
It just has to. It goes back to like the Israel thing.
like
and
line in
fucking
the sand, right? Like
Yeah.
that he.
general conflicts, I think, and basically like saying like he's kind of like he'll say something and then not actually do it. And then I was listening to Hot 97, Ebro in the morning, friend of the podcast.
Sponsor the pod.
And they were saying that now he's basically like Marty McFly from Back to the Future, and like you call him a chicken, and now he just
now he's
crashes
mad.
out, will do anything. And now that's what we're seeing.
Okay.
Come on, Doc. He called me a chicken.
Do you know the origin of taco or anything like that, or?
No, I don't know
Okay.
who started that, but
Okay.
that's what it stands for.
All right. Yeah, I think now that kind of makes sense because I know he's been catching flack.
I never heard of it.
Drawing lines in the sand and like, oh, they have 24 hours, they have 48 hours, or this would never happen under Trump, and then, like the deadline passes or whatever, or things persist, and so okay, I get it now.
Yeah, and this conversation started because, like Ken said, we were kind of talking about how basically, like, quickly AI has gone from like kind of crappy. You can tell like something was clearly like altered, like
fingers,
had too many
dude.
fingers,
Yeah,
right?
The fingers were
Right.
the most messed up.
Or the
thing.
word, like letters
Yeah,
weren't the words weren't spelled correctly, or things like that. To the point where it's like you turn on anything, like if you're looking at videos on YouTube of the conflict that's happening in Israel, and it's like you don't know if it's real
Yeah, you
or
can't.
AI generated.
It's really
anymore.
hard to. It's really hard to tell. You have
Yeah.
to really cue in. Like,
And I think the point that you made before was really good, like especially for us, like our generation, like kind of young, a little younger than Ken, but it's like we've kind of been raised on the internet and
For
things
sure.
like that, and for us to be able to not even tell the difference, it's like, yeah, it's real scary.
well, it's all this, larger, like, I don't want to say conspiracy, but there's just this larger idea that like we're just gonna be so desensitized, like the truth and reality are gonna like cross in and out. Like you're not gonna know really what's real, what's fake, and it's a scary outlook for that.
What's
kind of
this
stuff.
internet you guys speak of?
So the internet. So you think
Father
about-
Jenkins.
take a dictionary, right, and a calculator, and just like slam it all together, and that's the internet.
Yeah, and I think it's like we've been hearing about like augmented reality for a while,
Yeah.
and like with the
VR
stuff
yeah.
and things like that. And so yeah, I think even way before AI came to the point where it is so deceptive, I think we've been on this like path towards like this hybrid of like virtual and real, and yeah, it's a crazy ending where it ends up, or just a crazy path of where it's going.
Not to say that
because-
nothing was fabricated before this,
Sure.
there was Photoshop and all that stuff, but like for the most part, like, Josh couldn't just go on the computer and Photoshop something and make it look unbelievably real. But now, like Josh, with zero, context or ability, can go to like any website and tell it to generate something,
Yeah.
and I will generate it. And Josh can be a proponent for any sort of fake story, fake media,
Yeah.
fake photo, fake video, whatever he wants. So it's gonna mucky the waters.
Well, and also
very
too, just
quick.
because like I think people it's very easy for people to be suspect of pictures because of like Photoshop traditionally, but we've always kind of trusted the video, right? Because there's always somebody with a phone, there's always a camera somewhere,
and for the most part, you could tell when it was like changed. You know, in a video, it was very clear, very easy. to tell.
It gets like very kind of pixelated or weird, or the animation,
like those Bigfoot
or the movement,
Bigfoot videos.
Yeah, the movement of people is very like it's not smooth. You know, it's kind of like choppy. But now it's just like
Because I don't know if you guys know, but I have my degree in sociology from Harvard. So
wow,
yeah,
congrats, man.
I'll post that picture just to prove it.
Very convenient, given the context of the situation.
Man. Tonight, though, speaking of AI and how different things are with that, we got something different that we're going to be doing tonight. And I don't know if he's ready yet, but we're going to have a guest. But this guest is not going to be live and in person. We've had a guest before. We've done that. We're going to break the mold tonight.
That's it.
And we will be doing it again soon, as everybody asks when we're going to have more guests, if they can be a guest, if we can do a panel. We have been upgrading equipment, and so stay tuned. That's a tease. Stay tuned. Hey, speaking of teases and other things that you should do before we get too far into this podcast.
You know what, Ken? I'm so glad you threw it back to me. Because I want to remind all the listeners to like, review, subscribe. If you are a new subscriber, make sure you comment in the video. Let us know that you've subscribed, because we're going to give you a shout out on a future video. But if you like the videos, if you like if you're listening to us on Spotify or Apple Music, wherever you get your podcasts, you can like us. You can find us on social media at NSFS Podcast. Give us a like, give us a review, subscribe to our channel, and we will definitely give you a shout out if you're a new subscriber. And we have a lot of returning people giving us comments all the time, and we love it. So,
and I'm happy to announce that there's only now one sponsorship opportunity available.
One spot left.
Hims did sponsor Pastor Ken last time for his receding hairline.
Thank you.
They have different factors.
Thanks for clarifying.
They have different facets of their line.
Yep.
And
thanks for clarifying.
But he did get the bundle subscription.
Get the discount.
Discount double check over there.
So anyway, you want to set up this this call that I'm about to make?
Yeah, so I got a call from friend of the pod, my brother, and he was saying, "Hey,
what's your brother's name?"
Timmy. But yeah, no, Tim called me and he's like, "Hey, you guys should do a podcast one day on like on the workplace, and like what it's like to be like a Christian in the workplace and navigate, not getting taken advantage of, but like navigating the fine line between grace and love, but also like not being a doormat." And I was like, yeah, we could definitely do that. So just thought about, hey, instead of me trying to explain like I just did what you want to know, let's phone you in.
That's great.
All right, making the call now. Here we go. It's the first ever on NSFS podcast.
Hold that up a little bit to the mic.
Okay.
Yeah, there we go. We can hear it a little bit better.
Can you hear it better?
Hello.
Tim Marks, what's going on?
Hey, Tim, this is the Not Safe for Sunday podcast. You're live on the air.
I don't know if you can hear that, but Josh just said this is the Not Safe for Sunday podcast, and you are live on the air. What's going on, Tim Marks?
Boy. I'm doing good. How are you guys doing?
We're doing good, man. We're just recording an episode here, and this episode was inspired by you, my friend. You talked to your brother Dan and said, hey, we should bring a certain topic to an episode. And so could you, in your own words and from your own heart, describe what that is and why or how this came about?
All right, perfect. Yeah, I mean, I'm excited. I'm honored to be one of the first callers.
You are the first.
This is a first.
Yeah,
you
are
not
the
one of. You are.
You are the first. You're not the first guest we've ever had, but you are the first call-in that we've ever done.
Wow,
So
okay.
We've gone backwards.
I'm honored. I'm a big fan of the pod.
Thanks, man.
Pause for a second.
Pause for 1 second.
Did you hit the voice record button?
Oh, no.
So you can do that.
That's
so
good.
we can have the audio clear.
No, I didn't do that.
Right up the top.
All
Just
right,
do it.
Tim, we're going to start over. All right. Take it from the top. Yeah, hold on.
Okay.
You gotta wait. You gotta wait for it to announce that the phone call is gonna be recorded.
Got it. See, I just found out what the internet is today, so.
Never have to
Alright.
do that on the Samsung, by the way. Never have to worry about that.
What, it auto records the call?
Maybe.
Oh my God, that's such drama.
All right, Tim, you here?
I am. Yes, I am.
All right, so Tim, you are the first ever call in. To
We're
the
taking
Not
it
Safe
back.
for
Hold
Sunday
on. Now we
podcast.
gotta take it back.
No, we don't have to do it all over again. We're already here.
All right.
All right, so Tim, from your own heart, from your own mouth, what's the topic and where did this come from for you?
All right. So, basically, I'm gonna give a little backstory real quick onto how I came about this topic. What do you call it? The topic is basically like I told my brother, kind of navigating the workplace as a believer and how to like kind of go about certain issues. So basically, I came about the topic because I've been at my current job, which I'm a crane operator for a local roofing company. I've been there for about 7 years already. And when I first started, I basically told myself, I didn't want to become, a roofer or any of that to begin with. So that was a big step in that direction for me. So I basically told myself, I'm gonna go in this full force, and basically told myself I was gonna, basically do what that Bible verse is, and I have it over here because I didn't want to take it out of context, but it's Colossians 3:23. It's whatever you do, work at it with all your heart as working for the Lord, not for human masters. So I told myself, I was going to take this bull by the horns and kind of run with it, and expect God for a blessing that, who knows what the future would hold. So basically where I'm at now is where this topic came into play, because for the past couple of months, this has been a big pressing on my heart, and I've wanted to talk to one of the people on the pod about it and kind of bring it up as a topic. And so I talked to my brother, and basically my question to you guys is, where do you find that fine line between living out, what the Bible verse is talking about, but also not being taken advantage of? So basically, like, working as if you're working unto the Lord, but kind of like not feeling like you're kind of being the scapegoat of everything. And, how do you juggle being a believer in such a toxic environment, but standing your ground when the time's needed?
Okay, good. Well, it's good that you came to us because we're the experts in absolutely nothing. So, we appreciate that, and I think that provides us some good kindling to get a good fire going on this convo. And so, any follow up questions for Tim before we let him go and discuss?
Nope. I'm in the same boat, Tim. I feel the same way in my workplace, and this is something that I've had on my heart too. So I'm glad you brought it up, buddy.
Did you hear that?
I did. Yes, I did. Yep.
All right, awesome.
But you're gonna have to take your answer off the air. So.
Hey, Tim, I was gonna call you last episode for family dysfunction, but I decided not to.
Oh, thanks. Thank you for keeping me out of that one. I appreciate that.
All right, man. Love you, buddy. Thanks for calling in. Thanks for the topic, and you'll see when it releases with everybody else. You get to hear how we answer it.
Awesome. I'm looking forward to it, guys. Thank you very much.
All right, see you, man.
All right, take care.
Bye.
Bye.
First of all, what a legend. I love that boy.
That's a brother of the podcast.
Brother of the pod.
Brother of the pod.
Tim Marks.
So if you didn't catch that, Tim is wondering how to navigate the fine line of being a believer in the workplace. And I think what he was trying to get at is, he used the word scapegoat. So I'm kind of thinking like, maybe it resembles like even our last episode, in some ways where we deal with relationship conflict, but kind of sounds like, there's some sort of maybe internal or just kind of expected implication that, because, I'm the Christian, that, again, I maybe don't address conflict that needs to be addressed, and I'll just take it. I'll just deal with it, or maybe covering up for a bad coworker, just because like, oh, well, this guy's kind of a hot mess. If I just deal with it myself, it keeps the job running smooth without, causing, making waves, or getting the guy fired or something like that. That's kind of what I got from it. Not sure how you guys took it, but
yeah, I know. Just from having conversation with my brother, knowing like the workplace, the work environment, and everything, it's he very much is my brother, if you know my brother, I mean, he does everything with his heart, and he does everything selflessly. I mean, he really is a servant in every form and fashion of the word. He really is a special man. And I think in the workplace, you know, roofers, rough guys, tough guys, macho men, and so just kind of feeling the need to kind of like, you know, talk down, take advantage of his niceness, his kind of servanthood, to the fact that, you know, now he's working, you know, ridiculous hours and doing, you know, 3 people's jobs because, you know, he's just trying to work as if unto the Lord, like he said in Colossians 3:23. And, you know, at the same point, okay, now, you know, being taken advantage of, but like at what point am I justified in speaking up that, you know, I'm not going to be abused, I'm not going to be a doormat, I'm not going to be taken advantage of, you know, I'm nice and I'm doing this, you know, because he's very much a team player. He's a team player. But when the whole team is taking advantage of and exploiting the person who's carrying a lot of the weight, you know, I think that's kind of the heart and the nature of the question. At what point does that conversation, like, what do you do about that? You know what I mean? Like, how do you even navigate that?
So I'm gonna go on the opposite end of that because I feel like my experience in the workplace is different than Tim's, but I'm battling this same question in a different way because I feel like
you do nothing at work and everybody carries the weight.
Freaking nailed it, dude.
How do we justify that paycheck?
That's
you
it.
Freaking nailed
We're
it.
getting some cuts at the post office.
You know what? Making sure you guys get charged double next time. We've been doing it anyway, so it doesn't matter. But no, because of my role, and I don't know Tim's role.
He's a crane operator.
Okay.
And I think there's only like 2 or 3 in the company.
People work under him?
Well, he has to bounce around from job to job,
Okay.
and like the nature of his job is he pretty much like he'll load the materials on the roofs, and he's like doing a lot of the managing, like the groundwork and stuff, and
Right.
he has to load everything from the crane, load it up himself, and he's got to fly from one job to the next, all over the map, and he's got different project managers battling to try to get him to go to this job site, go to that job site, and by the end of the day, you know, it's 7:00, and he's been out since 4 a.m. It's
Right.
7 p.m.
Right.
He's still out, hasn't seen his kids. You know, his kids are
Okay.
going to bed when he's getting home. He's missing games. He's doing all this stuff, and he's like, you know, what the heck, you know? And you know, I know what you sign. You know what you sign up for.
Right.
Granted, you know, it's
Right.
not about that. It's not about that's just the nature of his work. It's at what point that line is crossed of disrespect and taking advantage of him.
Right.
You know what I mean?
And for me, so when I say I feel like I'm on the opposite end and I'm navigating in a different aspect, for me, I feel as though because I'm in my workspace, I'm a manager. I'm a manager of probably 80 something employees. And my responsibility is to ensure the efficiency of the operations that I have that are under my control and to uphold the contract that we navigate within. And what happens with that is I find myself to be the bad guy in most situations where I feel like I do a lot of the firing that you just talked about, Ken, and I do a lot of the disciplining and holding people accountable for their work. And what I've found myself in this time is I find myself lacking empathy for people a lot of times, and that's because I've been burned a lot. I found a lot of people being dishonest with me, and so now I'm navigating this area where now I'm being a little colder than I'd like to be with people. I'm not showing as much grace as I'd like to with people. I'm being harsher with people because I've been let down before, or I've seen how this plays out. So now I have to treat you the same way I have to treat my best employee the same way I treat my worst employee. So if I think this guy is being dishonest with me, well, I got to treat you that same way. And if I'm not going to let this guy get away with this, I can't let you get away with this. So what happens with me is, like, I have people that I feel like I can tell there's something wrong with them. I can tell there's maybe some type of an addiction problem or something like that. And I can't be as understanding and giving leniency and things like that because I'm the boss and the buck stops with me. So if I let this guy do this, then who else am I going to let get away with it? And I got 80 other people watching me and seeing how I'm going to handle this situation. If I don't handle it appropriately, then it opens the door for what Tim was talking about, getting walked all over and things like that.
Yeah, I think in any, I think we should start here though. I think in any scenario, your scenario differs than Tim's, but as a believer in the workplace, I think everything has to start with character. No matter what, you're the boss, you're the lowest guy in the totem pole. Everything has to start with character because as we go through these different scenarios at work, that inevitably, just like in any other relationship or any other team setting or setting where we're dealing with a lot of people, you're going to have conflict. You're going to have people that are trying to get over on the system. You're going to have people that are cheating. You're going to have these things. And so as the individual and as one who calls themselves Christian, character, I heard a wise man once say, I can't attribute the quote, but it's somebody that I know because I know it was in a setting, a familiar setting. Somebody once told me, you'll never rise above your character. You'll never rise above that.
That's
what
good.
your character is what it is. And you can't get beyond that or above that. And so when you're entering into these scenarios, that are, that by nature have conflict or have some resolution, your character is going to speak volumes because with your strong character comes trust, comes reliability. They look at you and they see this person is solid. I know they're not going to be backhanded or pretentious. They're solid people. And as a Christian, unfortunately, sometimes people want to put the Christian label on their sleeve and that precedes their character rather than the Christ in them shining through their character. Right. And a good example of that is kind of it's very cliche, but I know it's very common where it's like people know that you're a Christian only because you're like, oh, can you please not use that language around me because it hurts my ears. I'm a Christian and we don't talk like that. And that's usually how people find out that you're a Christian because you're wearing it on your sleeve rather than allowing your character. Whereas when your character shine, is first and foremost, and it's good and solid, Christ shines through that. You know what I mean? And so that's first and foremost because without good character, your faith is never going to have a platform, and as you'll never be seen as like a leader. You'll never be seen as somebody trusted. So it's like you have no capital. You have no authority to even deal with some of these issues that Tim might be talking about or you're talking about because that's where everything has to begin and built upon. And so I think we need to start there. As a Christian in the workplace, you need good character. And there's the Colossians 3:23. Whatever you do, work at it with all your heart, working for the Lord and not for human masters. We're going to be accountable to him, and so if we don't have good character, and we're shoddy in that area, we'll be accountable to him before it even eventually, but in the grand scheme of things, we're accountable to him way more so than we have to worry about like how the situation is going to work out or why it's it's something is unfair to us, if that makes sense.
Because I think from that verse, I think Tim and I both feel like we're living out that verse as best we can. But I think and maybe it's because of our roles, I think it looks differently. Where Tim might feel like the doormat, I kind of feel like the steamroller. You know what I mean? And so, and it's hard to navigate because, people might see, they know, like in my workplace, they know that I'm a Christian, and it's not because I go and I talk about God all day. It's because of the way that I, like you just said, I think my character kind of goes and speaks for itself. But I've set up that boundary to say you don't cross that line either because I'm going to let you know about it. And I think that's an important maybe first thing to do is making sure you do set those boundaries in the workplace of what's going to be acceptable and what you're going to allow. You know what I mean? For sure. So So for Tim's situation, we're talking about what it sounds like is he probably has to pick up the slack for a lot of people, and they know that he's not going to say no. Is that would that be correct?
No, definitely. I think is an accurate portrayal.
Yeah. So for how can you?
Or they feel like they can just talk to him however they want, and just whatever. Tim's just gonna keep a calm, cool, level head.
Yeah. So that boundary, how can, for somebody that's in that situation, how would you guys say that he can navigate that boundary from a faith perspective of setting a good, healthy boundary within the workspace?
Well, I think a misconception that a lot of believers have is that, like, if they do something, not intentionally so, but if they do something that leads to the disappointment of others, that somehow that's a poor reflection on them. And so they really learn to be people pleasers more than working unto the Lord, because they're the biggest concern they have is like, oh, well, if I say it like it is, and if I like address this plainly, this person's going to be disappointed about it. So rather than, it's kind of similar to our last episode, and dealing with conflict, keeping false peace. False peace is not peace at all. It's just chaos waiting to explode. And it will.
Right.
It absolutely will. There'll be something that prods that or pokes that enough to rip off the false peace cover that's on it, and so that everything will get exposed again. So I think that a believer would understand that it's not their job to keep everybody happy. It's not their job to keep everybody from disappointment. It's not their job to keep everything balanced and juggled so that everything goes just so, and everybody can just get what's the expression?
Go along
to get along. Yeah. Thank you. And so I think that's a big first, is that you're able to speak the truth in love. You're able to address conflict and situations as they come up. It's not your job just to keep the whole world and your job site conflict free.
I think when I was kind of researching a little bit about this topic, I was looking kind of for some biblical inspiration for like models of the workplace, of how basically having workplace integrity. And Daniel was one of the people that had come up, and not necessarily
Thanks, man.
You're welcome.
Appreciate it.
How's his integrity of the workplace? Good? Is it good?
Oh, I will backhand you so fast. You watch what you say,
No.
boy.
That'll be our after hours
All right.
episode that goes on the dark web.
After dark.
not
the dark
definitely not safe for Sunday.
That's a dark web episode.
Not safest for
not
Did you mean
safer.
this Daniel or
No,
Daniel
no,
Bible? Out of
But
Bible?
the biblical,
Yeah, okay.
Daniel out
I
of the
definitely
Bible.
would not come up on Google.
But so when you think about Daniel and you think about people pleasing, right?
Yeah.
Daniel was doing the opposite, right? He was in Babylon, right?
Yep.
Is that where he was?
Yep.
That's where it was.
And so the king made the decree that there couldn't be any prayers to any god. They had to pray to the king, right? Am I on the right track?
Well, in Daniel, you have the episode or the passage dealing with Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, Daniel's friends, and that you had to pray to the golden statue that he had made when the music played at a certain time of the day.
Right.
With Daniel, he got thrown into the lion's den because remind me, yes, I get Daniel stories a little bit mixed up.
Well, he was praying in his room.
Oh right, yeah,
He
you
was
could,
praying
you
in
could
his
only,
room.
yeah, no, you're right. I'm
It's
sorry.
all intertwined.
I was thinking you were going to Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, but yeah, you couldn't,
Right.
yeah, you could not pray to any. I can't remember, but basically he could not pray to the Lord God,
Right.
and doing so would get you would get you thrown
And
into
right,
the lion's den.
and
Sorry,
so basically,
I sidetracked
yeah,
you.
you threw me.
My bad.
I did all this good research. This guy just throwing it all out the window, dude. But so Daniel continues because of his faith. His faith was in God. He continues, even though the king had decreed this, he continues to pray to his God. And the reason that the king had made that decree in the first place is because there was people that were jealous of Daniel. Basically wanted to try to catch him up and get him out of there,
Yes.
so they can push forward their agendas or whatever it is. But Daniel, knowing where his faith lied, continued to do what, even though the country, or let's call it the workplace,
Yes.
saw as not the proper thing to do, because of where his faith lied and where his foundation was. He continued to pray, and eventually, even though begrudgingly the king loved Daniel, didn't want to see him tossed out, had to go along because that was the decree that he made, and that's how he ends up in the lion's den. And I think that's what happens in the workplace, is where we know where our faith lies, but sometimes we conform to whatever's happening. And it can be in a couple different ways. It could be in the way that we just described with Tim, where you're now becoming almost a doormat and just being a yes man because you have a servant's heart, like you were talking about before, and now you're being spread too thin, and now you're neglecting maybe some things that you're putting on the back burner and is affecting you in that way. Or you're conforming to maybe a practice that's happening in your workplace that is harming people, but you're just going along to get along. So the parallels of those things all boils down to the same thing, right? Where does your faith lie? And does it lie in Christ? Are you living and working in a way that is bringing glory to him?
Yeah, and I'll just point out, too, real quick, is that Daniel was, this was the time of King Darius, and Darius really liked Daniel because of Daniel's strong character and integrity, and he regretted the fact that because of this stupid decree, he had to be thrown. He was the first one down at the mouth of the lion's den. The next morning, Daniel, did you
got
make
caught
it?
up in a trap. Darius did.
Yeah, and so just to kind of throw that in there. But
I think believers feel the need to, Jesus was accused and took it silently. He took the abuse silently. He went to the cross, in silence. He didn't curse. He didn't freak out. And I think many times believers feel like they need to be the whipping post for sure. in the workplace, that they need to be, the silent sufferers in the workplace, or even just in life, the whipping post. Like, when it comes to conflict, or I'll just yield, I just need to be, Jesus calls us to be peacemakers, so I need to just, but God doesn't call you to be taken advantage of either, and so Jesus, you can't isolate Jesus' silence to the cross, because before the cross he spoke very loudly, and he spoke very plainly, and he spoke very clearly. Even calling Peter Satan. And even look at some of his conversations with the Pharisees. Did he hold back with the Pharisees when it came to speaking the truth?
No.
He called them whitewashed tombs. Look at some of Jesus's kind of direct, clear calling out the Pharisees when there was wrong behavior, or when there was misquoting, misreading, or when there was misappropriation, if you will. Apply it to the workplace. Who managers who abuse, who take advantage, who exploit for their own advantage. That's what the Pharisees were. They were exploiting the scriptures for their own advantage. They were exploiting people for their own advantage, misreading things and misjudging things. It's the same thing, I think, that we often find ourselves in the workplaces, is like, we get stuck in the guise where I need to be this kind of silent sufferer, as Jesus was a silent sufferer on the cross. But like, Jesus' whole ministry was coming to be countercultural, and to also call things plainly as they were, and speak that truth in love, and not just be the whipping post. Because for 3 years, Jesus wasn't just a whipping post. He came to seek and save the lost, and that was a very hard work, and it was very important that he was truthful, that he had character, integrity, because his whole message would be compromised if he didn't have those things. And so Jesus did not hold back in speaking the truth in love, in holding people accountable, in calling things what was right was right, what was wrong was wrong. It was very black and white. There was kind of no gray or area for concern that needed to be interpreted. He just was what he was. And look, his message has reached to millions and billions of people all around the world through countless generations, because his character, his integrity, and his message was pure, and it was true.
How many times do you hear people quote to you Matthew 5? With the salt of the earth, you know what I mean? City on a hill, light of the world. But then it's not happening when you go and walk out of the church on a Sunday, and you go, because where we live a majority of our lives, we talk about the world, right? how different the world is from what the church is and all that. Where we spend a majority of our time is at work.
Oh,
You know what I
100%.
mean?
So
Is the
true.
workplace. So if you're not being the salt there, if you're not being the light there, well, you're not. That means you spend 8 hours a day. What's that? A quarter of your day, a majority of your day. That the other
It's actually a third, Josh, but it's okay.
a third of your day. Good math. Thank you, Ken, for the math.
1/16.
1/16 of your day. But a third of your day is spent there. Another third of your day is probably spent sleeping. So that means a majority of your time of your day is spent in the workplace.
Yeah.
So if you're not being the salt there, you're not being the light there, well, you're missing a majority of your day, your majority of your opportunity to be in the world, living in the world and working in the world where you have influence on people. And how is that influence being passed to those people? Because I think what happens is the majority of the time when I hear people talk about that, it's about being this outwardly expression of bringing the gospel to people,
Right,
like going,
right.
being countercultural and all that. But it can easily be like being there for a friend at work, or being helpful when needed, or standing up for a wrong that you're seeing is happening. But I don't hear too much about that aspect of it.
Well, I think your testimony or your purpose for why you work where you work, that's something that's probably built over time. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's hard to make this immediate impact there as a believer, whether it be sharing your faith or just letting your light and that salt that you're talking about shine forth. For me, I have a pretty tangible story when it comes to like the difficulty of the workplace. I'd been there as a school teacher, I should say, my former job. I'd been there for about 12, 13 years. And by that time, I was actually already one of the veteran teachers, not just because of my time there, but we had a bunch of teachers who retired, veteran teachers who retired. So, after 10, 11, 12 years, I'm actually one of the veterans. And then we have a new administrator come in, and the school just goes just off the cliff in a very short time. And so, myself and some of the other veteran teachers, as we talk, school, as Daniel knows, schools are cesspools for complaints. And that's unfortunately some of what teachers do do the best or the worst, is just complain about things and not be an agent of change, And so I was kind of that agent of change, and I spoke to some of the other veterans. I was like, let us make a plan of action where we go and address these new administrators with some of the major problems that are affecting the school and causing it to go off the cliff. Now, I would have no confidence to do that at all if my testimony wasn't pure. Because again, you kind of build this relational capital by loving unconditionally, by being there for people, by being, somebody in confidence that they can go to, by being a trusted person, by being on time, and being a team player. All these things work and build up into what might be your big moment,
Right.
So here we are. I have about 6 other teachers. On the day that we're supposed to go in and talk to the administrators, one by one, they all fall off or
Fold
chicken
in.
out.
Oh,
and
my
they fold,
goodness.
and I go into this thing alone. But I still went in speaking the truth in love and addressing these issues.
Yeah.
And again, these are people, one of them I knew and I had worked with for many years, and it's like they respected me, they heard me, they didn't change anything whatsoever because they were all so on their own, planet when it came to the direction of the school and education. But the fact of the matter is that it had to be addressed.
Right.
It had to be.
Right.
Because here we had this school, which was the shining example in the city, which had become a shell of itself in a very short amount of time.
Right.
And because I cared and I love people and I love the kids and I love the other teachers, somebody had to. And my coalition fell apart at the 11th hour,
Yeah.
but I still went in and did it because it had to be done. And so that's what I'm saying is that we don't, we're not just called just to be doorposts, you know
Right.
what I mean? Or to be whipping posts, or, just to be these silent doormats. At the same time, we're not called to be revolutionaries
Right.
and stir things up, but, we're Christ's representative. We're Christ's ambassador.
Right.
And so, how many times did I have an opportunity to do good and make sure justice, or right judgment could
Right.
be executed? How many times did I have an opportunity just to love somebody and share Christ with them? those are things that happen, are built up over time.
Right.
And again, that character, that testimony, so huge, because that is the vehicle by which these things can happen.
If you think you're a silent sufferer, you're lying to yourself. Because I can guarantee you're going home and complaining to your wife or
100%.
husband.
100%.
You're picking up the phone,
Definitely.
complaining about, oh, I can't believe Denise did this today. Like, this is, I hate this place, blah, 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 blah. So you're not suffering in silence. You're just suffering. You're just continuing to nag to somebody that can't do anything about it.
Mm-hmm.
I tell my people all the time at work, if you don't want to be part of the solution, then you're part of the problem.
Yeah, yeah.
If you have an issue and you continue to not bring that issue forth for in the position that I'm in for me to be able to fix, then you're part of the problem.
Mm-hmm.
And you have no right to complain about it because you're continuing to perpetuate whatever this issue is.
Definitely.
So that's the first thing that you got to do. Like Ken just said, you get your coalition together,
Yeah.
get your people, or do it yourself. Get the gumption up to go and address whatever the issue is with whoever the person is, whatever. Not to be a revolutionary, or we got to reinvent the wheel or whatever, or we really want to
Overthrow the government.
yeah, we
overthrow
don't.
the
Yeah,
leaders.
we don't want to do all that because obviously you have this job for a reason. God has blessed you with this job for a reason. That doesn't mean the workplace is gonna necessarily be this perfect place for you to be at every day and is gonna be beneficial to continuing your journey with Christ. But maybe it is an opportunity for you to step up and say, all right, something needs to change here, because maybe it's going to help change something for somebody else that's suffering even worse than you are.
Yeah. If you don't stand for truth, you stand for a lie. And so, like, you need to stand up and speak that truth in love. And, you know, if it's a manager, if you're a manager speaking to a worker that works for you, or whatever it is, the conversations they need to be had. This is like somebody who avoids conflict speaking on addressing conflict. But like, you know, needless to say, it needs to be done, because you never know that what you're standing for could be preventing a whole wall of pain and dysfunction for the whole company by you standing up and speaking to the truth. And who knows, like, the manager might not even know that it's the tone in which they're saying things. You know, they might just be thinking,
Right.
I don't see the problem, I'm just saying it.
Yeah.
But like, they're saying it cold and they're saying it harsh, but they're not even realizing it. So maybe you addressing it with them calls to mind an understanding, like, oh wait, like, that's how I come across. I totally didn't mean it like that. Not to say that that's always the case, you know. Douchebags will be douchebags, as they say. And so there's some people, again, this speaks to everything we've talked about on the podcast about, you know, people, their family dysfunction, their history, their past, their undealt with problems and traumas and home lives and all that stuff. We carry all these baggages, all this weight with us everywhere we go. You never know what everybody's dealing with in the workplace, so you never know what you're going to get day to day. But regardless, like, you know, you do have to set the boundary, because how you allow people to treat you is how you will be
Right.
treated
Yeah.
continually, and worse. Because the more you allow people to walk all over you, the more you allow people to treat you poorly, the more that you're Mr. Nice Guy and never, you know, not really sticking up for yourself. And it's like you're just going to continue to be the whipping post till eventually you're suffering, your wife's suffering, your kids suffer,
Right.
you're miserable, the things that you enjoy you don't even enjoy anymore, your Sunday afternoon's taken away because you're just miserable, dreading work, when you could be just enjoying the time with your kids, or enjoying the time with your spouse, enjoying just life if you're single, just enjoying life and having fun. But instead, you know, you get the Sunday blues and you're miserable about going to work the next day, when it's like that, you spend enough time there, it should not be, you know,
Third of your day.
taking your nice math. You know, it should not be taking the peace in your home, even on a Sunday
Right.
when you haven't worked in 2 days.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Not only that, you also have the possibility of betraying other coworkers when you're not willing to speak up. Because, you know, if you're just always Mr. Go along to get along, Mr. Happy, keep everything happy and everybody appeased, there's going to be a time that somebody that you work with might be being victimized, you know, or being unfairly treated. And if you're just Mr. I don't want to make waves and be Mr. you know, happy, appease everybody, you're going to have an opportunity to stand up for that person, and you're not going to do it. You know, so now you're betraying other people where everybody, I don't care who you are, they're looking for somebody to be brave enough to stand up for righteousness. You know what I mean? Because again, in work settings, I'm sure people are taken advantage of all the time, whatever, if it's to cut corners or for the bottom dollar or for the bottom line, whatever. So, to be that person to stand up for righteousness, even when it's not for yourself, but for somebody else, be that beacon of character and be that beacon of integrity is just so huge. It's so huge. And your testimony will shine even brighter.
I think we need to remember to practice spiritual intelligence in the workplace. You know what I mean? I think the other thing, we've kind of gone on this of trying to change things in the workplace, maybe per se. But I think the other thing we got to take into account when we talk about navigating faith in the workplace is not conforming to the things that are happening in the workplace.
100%.
Big time.
You know what I mean? So and this has been huge for me in my workplace, is making sure, like, one of the big things that happens, and it happens in every workplace, is the gossip. Like, I've told people straight up to their face, don't bring it to me.
Yeah.
Don't bring me any of that drama. I don't want no part of it. Like, and you need to stop, because I'm not going to have it. I don't do this. I don't do drama in the workplace. We're not doing that. We are here to work. We're here to do, and that's why I've called cold, I think, because this is how I talk to people. But we're not doing it it's because I know where it leads to. I know the doors that it opens. Like, I don't want to partake in it. And things like that you have to have a stance on. So when we talk about navigating the workplace, faith in the workplace, I think it is very important to make sure we're not conforming to those things that don't align with our beliefs.
Yeah, and that's actually where I wanted to go to next anyway, was going back to Colossians 3:23. You're working as if you are working unto the Lord.
Right.
So then you start getting into like some of those everyday issues, like you're talking about, like gossip. If you're a gossiper, again, who are you accountable to, and what the heck kind of testimony are you showing? If you show up late all the time, if you work slothfully, and you take longer lunches, you show up late, you leave early. If you're always just pissing and moaning about
Negative.
the job, you're
My
always just so negative, this job sucks and all that, your testimony is shot. It's ruined. And you're not working unto the Lord at all. You're working unto your own lazy self. And you don't really resemble anything. Talk about not being salt and light. You're not standing apart at all. And so just like being personally responsible for yourself and your accountability unto God. Right. Do you really fear God, and do you believe in his word? Do you believe what Colossians 3:23 says, that you're not going to be slothful? You're not going to show up late and leave early. You're not going to do all the things that I just mentioned and just resemble like everybody else. You're going to stand apart. And if you don't, you're going to be accountable to God someday. Yeah. There's no doubt about it. Not only that, your testimony's terrible, and you've lost sight of why you might be there. Even if you don't really like the job, that's fine. We all have jobs. We've all had jobs at times we don't like. But why are you there? Why has God's hand of providence brought you there? Probably it's to be a light. Probably somebody needs Jesus there. You can't even go to work on time. You're not going to be leading anybody to Jesus. You're a horrible testimony. So your testimony's shot, and you've pretty much just ruined any, whatever God has you there. Right. Man, you really wrecked that one. Throw it right out the window. And so, what's your purpose now? Then that opens up into a whole other bunch of other questions that you need to answer. Why was I put on the earth? What's my purpose? Why am I here for this point in time? Is it just to suffer for 12, 14, 24, 36 months or whatever until I get to where I really want to be? Or is it, Joseph? We referenced him in the last podcast, son of Jacob. I mean, man, dude had bad job after disappointment, after betrayal, after this and that. And he worked unto the Lord. He just kept his head up. He knew that God was with him.
He knew his identity.
He knew who he was in Christ, and that's what drove him, and that's really what shaped him and molded him into what he was. And then, because of all that, when it came time for promotion, man, did he get promoted.
And God was the one who did the promoting.
Second to only to Pharaoh in the most powerful country, the richest country of that time and in that world, in that known world.
I find that as my walk with God, as I continue to get closer to him, I find that he continued to pour out in my workplace too. And I think he put like to be where I'm at now, I think looking back was purposeful, because not only is it obviously it's beneficial for me and my family, but I think it's also been beneficial for me in my walk with him, because it's giving me like those characteristics that you talked about before. You can't be the guy that shows up late. You can't be like it's not that I was necessarily that guy, but I definitely wasn't like, oh yeah, I need to do this because I need to do this to honor God. It was just like, yeah, this is kind of my responsibility.
And let me just say too quick, there were one time in particular I can remember, but there were times I had to run a check on myself too, as far as accountability. And I had to repent.
Yeah.
You know, there were times I realized, man, I'm not being accountable to who my boss is. You know what I mean? I'm not being the man that I should be.
Right.
And I had to have some serious self-check and repentance time. So you know, but if you get to that point, that's what you need to do.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because the standard's higher.
And I think being in that higher standard, like being in my workplace, has helped keep me more in check, to be like, all right, I set the example and I know who I get my example from. You know what I mean? And now that trickles down, and I set that example now for everybody else, because if I want this workplace to be a reflection of what my belief is, well, I need to lead in that way, so that way everybody else underneath me can be a reflection of that. And I think that helps. God keeps me in check in that way. Like, this is going to keep you sharp on your toes, because you know you can't lose. You don't want to lose anybody that's there, because you have a good system going and things like that.
I think we can harken it back to the culture episode, right? And we talked a little bit about building healthy culture, and a lot of it starts with just yourself, right? And so stewarding yourself well, and your own self health, and understanding boundaries, and like just knowing yourself and being in a healthy place allows you to deal with people in a healthy way. If you're just not healthy, you're burning the wick on all ends, and you're living your life in a way that's like so chaotic, you're gonna carry that everywhere you go. And so you need to have a grounded understanding of yourself, and a healthy. You need to be in a healthy place, right? Because especially if you're gonna go, you know, Jesus sent you out as the sheep amongst wolves. You're like, you know, sheep, that's not the expression. Right?
Yeah, sheep amongst wolves.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right, we're back.
What is it?
We're back. So you need to be
wise as snakes.
No, it's wolves amongst sheep.
No, it's sheep amongst. It's sheep
He's
amongst
not sending
wolves.
us out as wolves.
He said, I know he's not sending us out as
Hold on.
wolves. Whatever, but but either way, you're being sent out.
Jake pulled it up for you. Sheep among wolves.
Oh, look at that.
What is it? Wise as snakes.
Yeah, as shrewd as a snake.
Shrewd as a snake, and blameless as a dove or something like that.
We read the Bible this podcast, we promise.
We're just not the best quoters. But you need to have the character that lives up to that same standard, and you need to be in a healthy place to let your witness, ring true. I think Jesus was just a perfect model. Dan Boulay, friend of the pod, preached an excellent sermon one time on meekness, and which was strength under control. And I think we misinterpret that word a lot. Meek. We think that needs to be like, oh, I need to be timid. I need to be that doormat, kind of like my brother was just explaining to us. Like, I need to be the fall guy, when no, meekness is just strength under control. And that doesn't mean that you're abused, but it means that when and where that strength is appropriate to deal with. And, a lot of times, to preserve the peace, that silence, it's not healthy. So you need to be able to address those things. And so we wouldn't understand peace if there was no conflict. If there's no opposite side, you can't understand it, right? So I can't understand peace if I haven't navigated conflict before. Sometimes for there to be peace, there's got to be war. And so you're going to have to go to bat with some of these things, and not in an aggressive or trying to be the victory or trying to be right or trying to be prideful. But sometimes you got to go, let's go to the mattresses, right?
Yes.
We got to go to the mattresses. Wonderful.
That's a Godfather reference.
Godfather reference, and we got to figure this thing out. We can't just allow it to permeate and to rule every aspect and every facet of every day, when it's like we spend way too much time at work to be miserable.
Right.
And so you are the culture builder, especially if you're at the ground level. I think a lot of times culture, it's built from the bottom up than it is a top down sort of thing. I think it's easier to catch from the bottom up than the top down. And so don't neglect yourself if you're at work and you're just a worker. And, you're not in management or you're not, the boss. Like, you are way more effectual for change because you actually have a much better platform because you're one of the people.
Oh, yeah.
And so use your platform for good. And if you're a manager, be a manager that people like know that you're actually underneath them, propelling them and pushing them forward, not at, whipping them and flogging them to produce more. So your bonus can be better this quarter, because they catch on to that real quick. People are not as stupid as we like them out to make them out to be. So, it's just, be a decent human.
Yeah. And one of the things that you just talked about, I think we got to remember too, is when we're going to war or we're going through these tough times at work and we're looking for how to navigate and to do these things. I mean, we got to remember that every time we walk in that door, the Holy Spirit's walking in with us, and we can always go to God. And one of the things I want to ask, and it's going to be less for you guys because you guys work in the church, so you can always.
I didn't always work in the church.
Yeah,
same here.
But when you're trying to find time within your workday to spend time with God, find some quiet time with God. And you guys can, but I kind of want to hear from the booth a little bit.
Yeah.
Love the booth.
Because these are salt of the earth guys. We're all blue collar guys in here.
It's more white collar than anything.
But when you're trying to find quiet time with God at work, is there something that you do, or if you're having a hard day and you need to be prayerful or something like that, is there things that you guys do to go have that time with God? How do you navigate that?
I think I use the bathroom as an excuse just to get some peace and quiet.
Yeah.
Just go 10 minutes maybe. I mean, you don't want to force it, obviously, but
the bathroom or
get your
the
quiet
time?
Yeah, like going to the bathroom to get your quiet time, not like using the bathroom.
Yeah. Are you going in? Are you like and are you going and praying? You going and pulling up some scripture?
You go to pray. You can do some Bible study, quick Bible study.
Yeah.
Get some peace.
How do you feel that works for you?
I think it's like a reset. You can be having like a rough shift or a rough time, and then it's like a quick reset, and you're back. You're back to being locked in.
Yeah.
Reminds me of Luke with Jesus. Jesus withdrew from people to pray.
Yeah.
Sometimes his meter was full too, and he just needed to withdraw and gather his bearings again.
That's a good word.
Good point.
Good.
What about you, Spence?
Yeah, I do kind of a similar thing. Just kind of will go take a walk. Like the way my office is set up, there's like a big like path.
Yeah.
So if it's not like too super hot or crazy or anything, I'll just go take a walk outside.
Yeah.
And just pray like that. I call it a little prayer walk.
Yeah.
That's what I do.
I like
just
that.
be like, Lord, this person is making me reach my level.
This
Situation is
little
whack, but help me to love them and be a good steward and reflection of you to do my work unto you.
Yeah.
That's
and,
a great.
let's calm down a little bit and
That's
then go
good,
back.
man.
I love that you really put that scripture in the light. Pray for those who persecute you. Pray for your enemies.
Yeah.
Like pray for those who persecute you. It's because like sometimes in the workplace, we may not be persecuted for the sake of Christ in the workplace, but man, sometimes like my brother was sharing, you feel persecuted. You either have that person that's out to get you, or you just feel like, man, I really want to put my hands around your neck and just teach them a lesson, but for you to withdraw and like go and pray for them, I think, speaks of your character.
Yeah.
And that, it's like oftentimes when we pray, God's changing our hearts more than he's changing theirs, and he's changing our perspective, and like it allows us to gain a better and clearer perspective on the way to view this situation, not through the lens of our emotions.
That's right.
Jakey boy.
Yeah, how about you, Jake?
Yeah, so right away, the only thing I ask is that God shows up in a mighty way.
Yeah.
That's the words.
Yeah,
that
but
I
what do you
use.
do? What do you do? How do you find that time?
Right away. When I'm at my computer looking down, even though my colleagues
okay.
are around me, I literally am able to
Right there and there.
focus in, hone in. And I look down and I'm like, God, I need you to show up in a mighty way. Help me through this scenario.
That's good,
mighty
man.
way. Love that.
That's good. I find myself figuring it out too late sometimes in the workplace, where I'm like, God will he'll give me that little flick in the air, like, you really kind of messed that up. And so what I do is I find myself doing a lot of repenting and going back to the person and being like, listen, I shouldn't have handled it that way. That's not, like, I'm sorry I disrespected you, or I'm sorry I raised my voice, whatever it is. Like, I got to be better. I know I got to be better. And sometimes it's that admittance. Sometimes it's helpful in the workplace. And after I do that, I go back and I talk to God a little bit and just kind of reflect on what it is, why it is that I'm in the position that I'm in, what it is that He wants me to do, and remember that I'm not perfect. You know what I mean? We're not perfect, and it's a lot more. I do a lot more praying for myself because I find that I need just as much help as the people that are I'm working with, and just trying to be that light that we can show what it means to be loving and showing grace to people. So
when I was a teacher, I would really all day you're around just kids, you're around people all day long. I mean, you very rarely did I have a moment to myself, but my walk in the morning when I was walking to my classroom and those 10 minutes before the bell rang or whatever, I'd be in my classroom and I'd just be like, God, let my room be a place of peace. Let there be breakthrough. Let there be healing. Let people, let these kids, let these teachers feel loved, and let them encounter you. And I was a public school teacher, so you really are not at the liberty to share the gospel freely as you wish. And my prayer was, God, always just use my life for your glory. Use my life for your glory. And I didn't get to share the gospel audibly very often, more so with coworkers, or if kids would kind of privately come up to me and then, ask, and start a dialogue, I would share I would answer their questions, but not go out of my way to proselytize them or anything, because that's, it wasn't appropriate for the workplace. But I was just like, God, I pray that I see the opportunities that you give me to see people and to see people the way that you do, and to share your love with people. And it's amazing because now being on the other side, so I've been out of education now for 2 years, and it's so awesome because, at church now it's like I see my students are walking in the door every Sunday and their lives are getting radically transformed by the gospel of Jesus, all because they saw the testimony of one person who didn't even share the gospel with them, but just loved them.
That's right.
And just treated them like just a person, and was willing to hear them and speak life into them and encourage them. And they could see that they didn't even need to be a gospel message preached, but the character and the integrity was lived out in such a way that after living life a year or 2 or 3 or 4 or after graduating, and life really hits these kids and they're in college and they're navigating that fork in the road like we talked about last episode, and now they're having to make decisions for themselves, and they're like, life is so chaotic. Like, why did Marx, what they used to call me Marx, I didn't get the privilege of Mr. Marx, why was Marx so happy all the time? I'm living in the fulfillment of prayers that I walked in praying every day in my room. I would go and pray, God, use me. God, open the door. God, even though I cannot audibly really share out the gospel, let my life be a reflection of your love. And it's just so amazing. So you can be used in any aspect. Just on your right to work, really ask God, what are you doing in me today? Right. What's the opportunity today? What are you presenting for me to share today? Give me an open eyes into that opportunity, that I may see this as you see it, not as I see it. Right.
He doesn't leave you when you walk through the door. He's with you that entire time. Ken, do you have any tangible takeaways tonight?
All right. Well, Ken's tangible take for today is that there are so few leaders, and people are looking for leaders, and you don't have to be like have the highest authority in your workplace to be a leader.
That's right. Good
They're
point.
really looking for someone, and I see it like in the way that you know, like have to sometimes go and say, hey, I didn't handle that correctly. That's being a leader. You know, that's owning up and taking accountability for your
Right.
actions, you know, or Daniel, like, you know, where he was talking about, you know, not like trashing the, you know, the administration in front of the students,
Right.
but then handling it, you know, discreetly and privately, you know. So I just think there's such lack of leadership in the world, and there's so few leaders that as believers, why not us? You know what I mean? God has
That's
called
right.
us to lead,
Yeah.
you know, and you can see that throughout the Bible, like men and women that were just unassuming, but God had called to a certain place for a certain time to lead.
Absolutely.
And they were like, who, me, God? Whether it be Moses or Gideon, you know, who, me, God? Yeah, you know, because God is the orchestrator of these things. And by his sovereign hand does he accomplish his will. And we get to be a part of that. So, you know, be a leader, even if you're not in the, don't just think, well, I'm not the boss. You can still be a leader, though.
Right.
It's your character, your testimony, the way that you love, the way that you know, are accountable for yourself, the way that, you know, you're looking out for others, the way that you stand up for others, and you want to see fairness and justice. So be a leader, because that's who God is calling, and there's so few, and the world is looking for them.
That's a good Ken's tangible
Good take.
takeaway.
All right.
Good word, Pastor.
Love it. Love it. Last words in the booth.
They're ready to wrap it. They're hot.
Yeah, we're ready to go.
You know what,
It's sweaty back here.
They're hot.
This
They're
heat
hot.
brings to mind a quick quote. If you've ever seen a movie called "Do the Right Thing," most of you listening maybe haven't.
I have seen it.
It's a good watch. But it sums up this whole conversation well. Always do the right thing. That's it.
Amen, brother.
Just quick
Using
hot,
the title of the movie.
quick
That's
hot
the
take.
quote.
Quick
That's
hot
so
take.
good.
That's Spike Lee's only good movie. Hot take.
We don't have time. We don't
Hot
have
take.
time.
That's his only good movie. Hot take.
In the comments, make sure you let us know if Do the Right Thing is Spike Lee's only good movie, but also let us know if what you think, what things that you're navigating in the workplace, thoughts that you have about how to navigate as a Christian in the workplace, how to navigate your faith within the workplace. Let us know what your thoughts on that, or if there's anything that you'd like to share, experience that you've had where the Holy Spirit's really compelled you in the workplace. We'd love to hear about it. So you can follow us at NSFS Podcast, find us on YouTube, Spotify. You can find us on Apple
everywhere.
Music, anywhere you get your podcasts. Until next time,
Love and peace.
Peace and love.
Peace.
the Not Safe for Sunday podcast was recorded in the loft. You can find us on social media at NSFS Podcast. Audio editing by Spencer Barrowman. Video editing by John Walsh. If you'd like to join us for a Sunday service, you can find us at Conquerors for Christ Church, located at 972 Reed Road in North Dartmouth, Massachusetts.